Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help people build great teams, especially contractors. So I have Carl Willis with us. He's a member of Remodeling Marketing Team. So that says what you do. Tell me what, Carl, give me your backstory a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, my background, I'm a serial entrepreneur at heart. So marketing is the avenue I've chosen. Online marketer, started in the dial-up days. My first online business, I was selling vases on eBay back in 1996, and have continued to just market online through the years. But really found a sweet spot serving businesses in the home services industry, home remodelers, electrical contractors, plumbers, those kinds of folks, and using those skill sets to really help them scale their businesses. And so that's what we focus on, is taking all of those digital marketing skills, just helping local business owners use the tools and technology that are available today to get an advantage in their marketplace.
Okay, so a couple of things. I've been doing a lot of these podcasts with some of my marketing companies, learning a lot. So there's some confusion out there about there's building brand, which I'm going to, whatever the book is, they talk and you listen, that kind of thing, which focuses on inbound marketing. It's all about SEO and building brand and becoming the authority. There's another school of thought that says, no, you're going to use pay-per-click. You got to get people to call you, and that's the best way to do it. There's marketing budgets around from 2% to 15%. So maybe you can help clarify where your position is on these particular issues.
Sure. I take the advantage point of shock and awe. So I think you work every angle that you have available to you. I'm a firm believer in attraction marketing or inbound marketing. I do think you have to develop your brand. You do have to become the expert. Otherwise, you get into a price competition. And that's a quick race to the bottom. So one of the things that is critical, especially in the remodeling space, is to set yourself apart. What makes you better? What allows you to charge a premium above anyone else? Otherwise, you're just in a pricing competition, which is just a losing proposition all the way around. However, in today's world, you have to think in terms of an ecosystem. And when I describe an ecosystem really is a spider web. And so we're trying to drive that prospect into the center of the spider web. But they're going to go to social media, and they're going to look at paid ads, and they're going to see search, and they're going to be on YouTube, and they're going to be on TikTok and Instagram and all these other places. And so it's critical that we stay with that prospect throughout their buying journey. They're going to be on their mobile device, their laptop, their tablet. What we find is it's going to take them 7 to 12 interactions with you before they even pick up the phone or fill out a form or send you a message. And so you may have to use a combination of inbound and disruption marketing to make that transaction happen quicker. So we tend to operate on the principle of developing an ecosystem that combines all of those things, both the brand building, but also using those pay-per-click strategies, those what I call shock and awe type strategies, where we're going to overwhelm the marketplace with your presence.
Now, I've heard the statistic that 70% of the people that buy something, and I'm sure remodeling, they have their mind made up before they make the phone call.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we track from the time a person clicks an ad, for example, to the time they place a phone call, and we can track those steps. The analytics information is incredible these days. And you can see where they've gone. They hit the ad, then they went to social media, and then they went to look at reviews, and then they circled back around to look at something else. They've done their research. Their mind is pretty well made up by the time that they place that phone call. And that's where the brand, I think, is so critical. You've got to just stay with that individual through that process. You've got to reinforce that decision, because we have to remember, Paul, people make buying decisions based first on how they feel, and then they support that decision with logic. So it's an emotional decision at its core, and then it's validated with a logical proof point.
So you have to appeal to people's emotion as well as their logic. Is that true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you think about home remodeling, What we're trying to do is excite the imagination of the consumer. We want Sally to look at that bathroom and go, wow, I'd love to have that in my house, and get that journey started because the emotional trigger was tripped.
But I guess with the positives, all the fears, like my friend got screwed by a contractor, I've heard horrible things, or used car salespeople. So besides the emotion of love, or I want to do this, there's the emotion of fear that I'm going to get in trouble. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. So good marketing, we have to play with the resistance, which means we have to answer those objectives in our marketing. We've got to talk about the things that people fear. We've got to hit those things head on. And the more we can hit those objections in our marketing, the less we deal with that resistance in the sales process. What we really want to do is condition that buyer to be ready to make that transaction when they pick up the phone or when they fill out that form.
Okay, now that sounds expensive. I mean, just off the top of my head. So when you're looking at a company, let's say it's a $2 million company, $3 million company, I've heard marketing budgets from 3% to 15%. Do you have a number? I mean, obviously it depends on your gross margin or company. I mean, if you're building houses, you don't have the same margin as like a roofing contractor. But do you have any rough numbers? You work with a lot of clients. Do you tell them a number, or how do you come up with those numbers?
Sure, we kind of give people a range. Every business is different. You know, the industry average is 10% is the recommended. Real world numbers, what you see is most people are somewhere between 3 and 7. What we do is we tell people, why don't you shoot for 5? We'll try and make it work at 3. But we really want you to be thinking growth minded, you know, because again, as a business owner, you didn't start your business just because that's all you want to do. You've got a bigger dream behind that. And so we want to help you scale, and you've got to be building in the numbers to scale. But if your marketing is done right, then your return on investment becomes predictable. And so what we want to get to is those metrics that when you know for every dollar you spend, you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, $7 coming back. Now you can develop your scale, you can plan, you can be strategic, and you can incrementally step up your ad spends. You can incrementally determine your pace of growth, because one of the things you do run into, Paul, we've seen this many times, is a company can actually grow too fast. And then they have to step back a little bit, slow down the pace, and get their systems in place so they can handle the growth. That's something we've seen many times, that they're not ready for the amount of growth that they experience when they really get their marketing dialed in. And
Right.
so
Well,
sometimes you've got to stair step.
You start a recruiting company because you got to have the people do the work, right?
That's exactly it.
So, how do you predict? I mean, if this spider thing works, you've got all these different things. I mean, how do you know what's working? How do you tell whether it was the Instagram post or the website or the paper? I mean, how do you decide with your metrics where to put more money?
So data is always your key. So you always let the data tell the story. What you want to follow is letting the data tell you, where are those most profitable consumers coming from? Where are they interacting with you? Where are they engaging with you? Where are you getting the phone calls? Where are you getting the lead forms from? So tracking is critical. One of the biggest mistakes we see business owners make is they're not tracking. Even when that call comes in, you want to be asking the question, where'd you find us? How'd you get to us? So that we know those metrics. The other piece of that we see break down sometimes, Paul, is tracking internally. What's your closing percentage once that lead comes in? Maybe you need to tighten up the sales process. We've seen great lead flow with some companies, but the sales process needed some improvement. And so sometimes scaling profitability is actually working on what happens after the phone call comes in.
Now, do you work on just a lead and generation, or do you work with sales too? I'm just curious.
We work with all of it. We are really a business growth partner. Marketing is our specialization, but in today's world, what we find is sometimes we're having to help you sell better. In today's AI-driven world, sometimes we're having to help you figure out the technology. Sometimes we're having to help you think like an entrepreneur, especially in our space, Paul. You've seen this. A guy starts out, he's got good skills. It's him and a helper, and all of a sudden his business grows, and by golly, he's got to turn into an entrepreneur. He's got to start thinking differently because it's
Well,
not just him and his pickup truck with his helper anymore.
so
Uh,
how do you take, I've done this for years, but how do you take somebody, help them make the transition from, I'm going to call a craftsperson, like I'm a good carpenter, I'm a good whatever, I'm a craftsperson to an entrepreneur, because that's a whole different skill set. So have you helped people transition, and how do you do that?
Yeah, we have helped them transition. A lot of that is figuring out where are things starting to break, and then giving the solutions, the guidance, the resources to help them get through that. I'll give you a great example. We had a client here recently that the business was growing so fast that they were not getting to their phone in time, and they were losing customers because the phone wasn't getting answered. So
Okay.
one of the solutions that I worked with the owner on is let's get a virtual receptionist in place for you.
Mhm.
Here's some potential companies that can do that for you, but you need somebody answering your phone. Then the next thing we worked on is, you've got to set aside a block of time each and every day that is your administrative time. So let's get that scheduled in on your calendar. And so, part of this is just listening to where are things breaking within the organization, and it helps, of course, being an entrepreneur. You understand this, Paul. We get this. Go fast and break stuff, and when you start to break stuff, then it's time to look at, okay, where do we need to take a look at our systems, our people, and what adjustments do we need to make so we can continue to go forward.
Now, that to me sounds more like a fractional CMO than a digital marketing firm.
In many
Is-
cases, it is that way, but a lot of people don't understand fractional CMO. Uh, so marketing becomes the front door. You try and keep it simple.
Okay, because a lot of these guys, when they start and they hire a digital marketing agency, but they just specialize in digital marketing and they don't actually have more of a comprehensive view because it's two guys and three trucks or whatever it is, but it isn't that it's a whole process. And today, even probably marketing and sales are really getting pushed together. It's not like marketing makes the phone ring and sales is everything after the phone rings. They get, because the decision's made before they call the damn phone. So that's part of sales, right?
That's
So
correct.
so how to make that merge is a difficult time for a lot of these small businesses.
Very much so. And I think here's the other thing you see, Paul. Anybody that's tried to hire marketing agencies for any length of time, there's a lot of vendors out there that are, I like to use this illustration. There are technicians and there are specialists. A technician knows which levers and dials and how they operate, but they don't understand business. So they can pull levers and turn dials, and what they do is they spend your money and they get bad results.
Mhm.
But they're appealing because they come along and say, "Hey, we'll do this for $300 a month," and it sounds great, uh, but the results are terrible. And that's one of the things, you talk about bad reputation sometimes, that the fear base that a person gets with a home services contractor. Well, as an agency owner, we get the same thing. We've been burned by XYZ who did this kind of thing. So having the practitioner, the specialist who is in the field, who understands business, who runs a business themselves, who understands systems and personnel and human resource issues and legalities, that makes a big difference in the way marketing is done. And that perspective sometimes is even more valuable than knowing how to flip switches and turn knobs.
Well, I think it's, again, about building a team, right? You're only as good as your team. And what I see happening lots of times is you can, have a great guy to pass, but he's got to pass to, your team's still going to lose, right? You got a great
Mhm.
receiver, and the guy's great at passing, you're still going to lose. So you got
Right.
to have a pacer and a receiver. And it's sort of like, I look at marketing is the object is to produce profit. I mean, good clients. You want profitable clients. And lots of times, well, we got you all these leads. Well, if it didn't make any money, who cares? So I see that, especially smaller companies between 2 and 25 employees, they need the overall kind of how do I generate the leads? What do I do with the lead when I get it? How much money is to spend? How do I find if I'm making money or not? There's a lot of questions that they don't even know they don't know the answer to. I mean, they don't know the right question, right?
That's correct.
And
That's
so
correct.
it sounds like you can enter with a company and help them. The bottom line is, how do I get more quality customers and make more money? That's what I want to do.
That's end of the day, that's what everybody's looking for.
But the way that happens, there's a lot of, you can read a bunch of different books. There's inbound marketing, there's pay-per-click, and it's easy to spend a lot of money and not get anywhere. You probably noticed that.
Yes. Yeah, I think, what it comes down to, every business owner at some point has to make this decision. Do you try and go it yourself? Do you try and educate yourself? Do you try and figure it all out yourself? Or do you find the right experts and add them to your team and free up your time to focus on the things that are going to drive you forward on your priorities? And that's ultimately what we try to do for our clients. Like you said, more of that CMO type setting, and that we're here to be the strategist for you, to help you figure out how to execute on the goals you're trying to accomplish. Marketing is the tool in the toolbox. Uh,
So how do you get, let's say some guy lives in Cedar City, Utah or someplace, and you're wherever you are. How do you understand his or her problems in some place you've never been?
Sure. Yeah, there's several ways we can do that. First of all, a lot of conversations. Conversation is the biggest key. Asking a lot of good questions, asking about those pain points. Sometimes got to jump a plane and put the feet on the ground. Take a look and see what's there. What are we really dealing with? But what you find is a lot of things are very common, no matter what the place is. There are common problems that every business owner is going to face. There are common personnel problems. There are common marketing problems. There are common cash flow problems. They are just common to business. It's those nuanced things where, yeah, we may have to make a road trip. We may have to jump on a plane. But most of the time, it's about having the right conversations. It's about asking the right questions. And normally, if we'll ask better questions, we'll get better answers and we can create better solutions.
Now, I'm going to not, a client who remain nameless at the point, but he hired a marketing person who did not cut it for whatever reason. And now he's considering hiring a marketing agency because, but how can they, take videos of my things? How can they post my people? How are they going to truly understand if you go with the, what is it, they ask and you answer, that kind of philosophy where you're not as actually on the team taking videos of them building houses or them interacting with people. You're, 1,000 miles away. How do you pull that off when you're not there?
Sure. We hire people local to do those things. So if we need somebody to go video, if we need a photographer, we'll hire someone local to do that. What we really like to do is we like to have the business owner do it. And here's why: because the business owner knows what they want to communicate to their audience. Hey, you say you're the best at doing this. Well, show it off. Show us your work. Help us tell your story. Well, all we are is a megaphone. We want to amplify your message. So help us tell your message. But truth is, if you suck at that and you need help, we'll hire somebody to come out and help tell the story. The truth is, though, give us the raw material to work with, and we'll work magic with it. But again, it's back to each individual. We have some, business owners that are phenomenal at telling their story. They just need a better megaphone. We have some that just can't tell their story at all. And we have to do a better job of, hey, let's come alongside you. Let's bring the right people in to help you with photographs, video, and tell your story because you're struggling with that.
So I was talking to somebody the other day, and I had this revelation that making him address this, that the economy, the buying public in this world, at least in the US, is controlled by Google, for better or worse, right? And so Google is now a thing. We'll call it AI it, right? It's like this thing, right? And so I think Google has the right intentions. It wants to connect the right people to the right people. It isn't evil. It wants to find, if you want to fix your roof or you want to hire a plumber, you want to build a house, it wants you to find the right guy so he's a good match. But you have to speak Google. it doesn't speak English, right? So
Correct.
unless you know how to talk to this omnipotent being, you're not going to get where you need to be. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. That's accurate. Now with AI, that is starting to look a little different. And of course, we're in a very evolving place with AI. And so what's becoming more important, Paul, really is the footprint that you leave. And that's kind of the discussion we're having with business owners these days. It used to be you had to have the magic word formula. Well, now it's about your footprint. What's the story you're telling everywhere that you are? And are you leaving a solid footprint in all the real estate areas online that you are? So if you're on the Better Business Bureau site, is your story being told there? If you're on LinkedIn, is your story being told there? If you're on Facebook or Instagram, or no matter where you're at, your Google business profile, is your story being told there? And so, yes, you still need to have that a little bit of nuance to the keyword formula, but it's rapidly changing, and it's more about how you present yourself in the totality of the ecosystem online, not just in that Google keyword universe.
So AI is getting smarter, for lack of a better term, right?
Absolutely.
And instead of just, changing Google's magic keywords of the week, it looks at your Instagram, it looks at what members you're in. It actually does a better job of vetting than it used to. Is that accurate?
It does. In fact, we've been reverse engineering for the last about 4 or 5 months. What is Google actually doing with its AI? And so we've started beta testing. And you might appreciate this, Paul, just because you and I are similar time of life. I took a cue from the Terminator movies. It takes
Mhm.
a Terminator to figure out a Terminator. And
Right,
so we started using AI to reverse engineer AI
right.
and testing that concept in the Google environment. And we found we were on to something. It really is the footprint, and have seen just magnificent results focusing on that footprint concept and making sure that the business is visible and telling its story in every possible place it can leave its footprint. And by
Right.
doing that, it gets a much better representation in these AI driven experimental results.
Okay. So AI is getting smart. Well, AI is obviously getting smart all the time, and Google's using AI. So what do you mean exactly by footprint for our listeners? Can you describe that a little better?
I
This-
sure can. So as a business, let's just use you're a home remodeling company. So you've got your website, you've got your Google business profile, but then you've got your Facebook page, an Instagram channel, YouTube channel, LinkedIn company page. You've got your Better Business Bureau listing, your Yellow Pages listing. If you've been on any of the sites like Quora, BuzzFeed, some of those places we've seen it pull from, local chamber of commerce, local charities, any of those types of places, the AI is looking for you. Where are you represented? That's your footprint. And so that footprint can be narrow. We see a lot of businesses make that mistake. They only have a presence on maybe the Google business profile and perhaps a Facebook page, but not much else. It's a very narrow footprint. The companies that have the broader footprint are the ones that are doing better in the AI results.
And that's probably just going to get worse or better depending on how you look at it, right?
Absolutely.
And so my understanding is you can help people develop that footprint, even though, because people go, oh my God, I don't want to do, TikTok. I don't want to do Instagram. I mean, all that, I'm done. My kid may do social media, not my thing. But what you're saying is it better be your thing, because Google, and if you're going to speak Google, who's the god of marketing in this country, you're screwed. I mean,
Exactly. You
it,
better fall in love with it. I hate that kind of stuff. I hate reels. I hate short videos. Man, I'm a fan of them today because
right.
that's what drives the machine. And so what you have to be thinking about as a business owner is feeding the machine. If you want the machine to spit out customers in your direction, you've got to feed the machine the content it's looking for. And
So we're
that
in the matrix,
footprint,
whether we like it or not, right?
we are in the matrix, absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, that was great. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, Carl, how do they get a hold of you? And do you have like a free introductory session? Can you look at their amount? Because most of these guys listening to this are go, I've heard this story before. What makes this guy different? Can I relate to him? I think that small companies should have a fractional CMO. I feel it's a fractional chief marketing officer. It's somebody that understands marketing, knows your market, knows what you're doing, and can give you the strategy, not just the techniques for getting where you want to go. Without strategy, it's not going to work.
Absolutely. Yeah, easiest place to find me is remodelingmarketingteam.com. And on the website, you'll also find links to our podcast, the Digital Remodeler Podcast. You'll find links to our YouTube channel, and you will find a ton of content on the website. So even if you don't become our client, it's a great training resource for you. A lot of materials there to help you grow your business, not just marketing related, but entrepreneurial related as well.
So you're trying to eat your own dog food, as they say, right?
Absolutely.
Get a bigger footprint. Thanks. Carl, well, I would, if you, unless you got your marketing together, which is 90% of the people do not that are listening to this, I would suggest you give Carl a call because I'm sure he's going to get some good input. And worst case, you're going to learn something.
Absolutely. And on the website, you'll see a button that says schedule a strategy session. When you do that, what'll happen is my assistant will do a quick 15-minute call with you, get some information about your company, where you're trying to go. And from there, we'll schedule a 90-minute strategy session with you based on the information you provide to her.
That 90 minutes free?
That's free.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, guys, this is like good information. You should just do it. The bottom line, if you not do it, bad on you. Okay. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.